Hey guys, welcome back. It's Deborah. Today I'm going to be doing another viewer suggestion, and this came from two people, Whitney Kosters and Angela Thoma, and they asked me to do my take on a file folder journal. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. I've got these file folders. Now these are the pre-cut ones. We don't have these in Australia, but I got them out of the US and they're called third cut. So you have one with the center tab and then a top tab and a bottom tab, and I'm only using the center tab ones today. And I have so far cut them down. So I've just cut about 1.5 inches off each end because I think that they were too big, and that's left them at around the 8 3/4 inch mark, which is quite a good size for the height of a journal. And then obviously they're going to be a lot wider than what you want. So this is the width. And I've scored a line at the 2 inch mark. Now I'm just going to fold that back on all three of them. And what that does is it creates a little flap in here, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that later. So I've got 3, and obviously I can put more on if I wanted to. Now in order to join them together, I'm going to put some hinges in this back part here. So I've just used the leftovers that I cut off the edges to make some hinge pieces. And that's simply a piece of card that's been folded, scored in half, and it's long and skinny. I haven't really measured the size of them. I don't really worry about things like that. As long as it works, I don't really care how big it is. But I figured that these were good since they were off cuts, and I could use them to close up this gap in here. So let's do that. So I'm just putting glue on one side, one of the flaps. Let's put some here. I haven't cut them to size. I think they'll be pretty good in terms of size, but I can cut them down after I've gotten them on. So just measuring that and putting that into there, and then pull the flap out. Put some more glue down. And fold it up. So effectively what that does is it folds up, so you've now got the page and it's got a flap on it. Now obviously later I will use this flap to join the 3 journals to pieces of card together to make the journal. Just trim that end off. While I'm here, I'll miter these corners. And I'm left with this, and now I'm going to go and cut this so that it opens up into little mini pages. What I found was this piece of paper here, and I was just playing around before and working out how wide I wanted the journal. This was one, and I scored it and it's too small. But what I've just realized is that if I put it in here and stick it in, it will actually be a perfect size as another page within this book. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll start by gluing the 2 pieces together at the spine here. I'll just glue those 2 together. So I've got that same sort of thing, only this piece in the middle is much wider than the piece I was working on. And I will glue this piece in here. Just get it straight because it needs to be visually pleasing when you are looking at the journal. How are we going? I just have to take a smidge off this end. If I move it up a little bit, I think it's not going to sit in the middle and I'm not going to be happy with it. No, that's sitting where I want it, so I just will cut this tiny little bit here off. I'll stick it down the rest of the way first. And I will also open this up to create 2 pages in here. So as you're flipping through, you'll be like this. And I've got two others of this bigger one, so I'll go and see what else I've got where I can reuse this and put it into the centre of the journal. Now, because this is a junk journal, I really didn't want to cut up anything new. So this one that I did before, it fitted perfectly in here. And then I found a smaller one that I was also playing with before I started this one. And I didn't want to, you know, make another one. So I decided I would just use this one. It fits in. Got the tab there. It is too short. So what I'll do is I will cut this down, and when I come to decorate it, I will take note of that. So I'll just cut this into a triangle shape there. And again here, just have to come from this side, I think, otherwise it's not going to work. So I'll just cut those two corners off, and I'll take that into account when I'm doing the rest of the journal. But I don't think it matters that it's a little bit smaller. As I said, it's a junk journal. I'm trying to embrace the fact that it's a junk journal and not just think that everything has to be perfect. This is another piece that I just found, and I wasn't playing with this morning, but at some point I obviously cut it or scored it or something. And I'm going to make the third one out of this. So I'll just get to the correct flap, which is in here. I've done the same. I've just scored around about that, I don't know, maybe it's an inch, 3/4 of an inch probably, looks more like. Sorry, yeah, it's just over half an inch, I think, not an inch at all. This is an inch, it's about an inch, so I'm putting this one in here, doing the same thing, just making sure that I use what I've got and I don't just start cutting up brand new things. I do want to line it up, however, and make sure that I'm not going to be able to do it on that side, but on this side I can make sure that it mirrors the profile of this one. One side doesn't have a profile, so I don't have to worry about that. And I'll pop it in, and then I will just cut it off here because obviously it's too tall. That's looking pretty good. The other thing I've done in here is I have cut this open, and you can see I've got a bit of glue because when I was putting the glue on this piece I didn't know if I was going to cut it open or not. I only just decided that, and this glue is a little bit lumpy. I'm still not convinced that I like it very much, but I've got it, so I want to use it. There's no point in having it sit there. But anyway, I'll work around that. So I'm going to be covering all of this with scraps of paper. These three will be like this, and they've all got something in the centre of them now. And I think that that will be fairly good for a journal. It's not going to be huge, but it's a fair bit of paper in there. Now I've created this concertina piece using a hanging file. Now this is a brand new hanging file, and the reason I'm using it is because it came in a plastic tub that I purchased recently, and I don't much like the colour, so I wouldn't use it as a hanging file. I bought a pack of green ones for my hanging file system, of course, but this one I thought I may as well get some use out of it. So there's a couple of them. There was just one in each tub, and I've got 2 tubs. So I've just cut it down and scored it to create my concertina for these. And these will sit in here. I might leave the flaps on the front and back. They're not long enough, but they'll provide some stability for the cover when I put the cover on. My centre tap's sticking out slightly compared to the back and the front one, but I'm going to just leave that. I'm okay with that. I think it looks great so far, so we need to just now decorate it. I want to use my leftovers when I decorate this. So I've pulled out my tub of bits and bobs and thought that I could put something together on here so that I can get rid of some of this, because the box is quite large at the moment. It's quite overflowing actually, I think the word would be. I don't mind if they go up the wrong way like that either. That doesn't really bother me at all. Just wondering if that'll fit on there. If I stick to the Tim Holtz papers, I should be fine. I've got a number of these like 3-inch strips where I was making something that didn't work out, and hence I ended up with lots of strips in this size, and I figure that I'll use all of those. At least it's going to use up the papers because they're just beautiful. Even the back is beautiful. And that way I'll be able to make use of them and I won't feel like I've wasted them then. So I will start to stick them down, and I'm thinking I'm going to use my double-sided tape today. And if I put some strips down on here, it will hopefully make it a little bit quicker to pull this thing together. I'm wondering if I should put them around the outside. Yeah, I might do that actually. Yep. Okay, so let's take some of this off and put this first page on. So this is the front cover, and I'm just going to take the stuff off the top, not all the way through. Now I will put it further across than it needs to be so that I can get a nice edge when I cut it off. And also I'm going to turn it over and put this piece around the back here. And then I'll just put these down over the top like this. And hopefully I'll have something that's going to fit. Just cut these off so I can fold them over. And then on this side, I need to cut these around. Just might leave that for a moment until I get this in here. And again, I'll just push in there with my score tool, create a bit of a crease, so it'll fold back easily. Now, I won't cover this one until I've cut all this off. Now I've put some strips down so that I can go through and stick some paper on. I've got this one with the stamps all over it. I thought that might look good down there. Cover up that piece. I might have to start taking some of this off now. It might get a bit too big for me to handle if I don't. So I've cut around these papers now, the ones that I put in so far, and you'll notice that I've only done one side of each page, and the reason for that is if you do both sides you'll hide things like the curves here. And so I've also just inked that bit because I've just cut that maybe a little bit in, although it's just showing some of the manila folder. So I just tested that, and when I ink that up you won't even see that that's there. So that I will go through now and I will add on all these other papers that I've got left over in these sort of thin strips and other shapes, and then I will come back next time and show you how I'm going to finish this up. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will be back in the next video with the completion of this journal. This is Deborah. Cheers.